Gaga apparently got very tired of people on the internet melting down, and she wanted to tell people to touch some grass, go outside. So the 14th track on the album, or sorry, the 13th track on the album is called Blade of Grass.
Hi everyone. So this is a Pop Explained podcast. We are at episode 1. Today dropped Lady Gaga's 7th studio album, and today we're gonna talk about it. We're discussing Lady Gaga's highly anticipated 7th album, which is called Mayhem. I'm really lucky to introduce my guest today. His name is Carl. I know him from Gaga Daily and also from the House of Delulu server. He's one of the administrators of the server, and I'm very thankful and very happy that he's our guest today. Hi, Carl.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Just to put everything in perspective, some hours ago, the countdown of the highly anticipated LG7 countdown, which went like 7 days, just finished. And we finally have an album title, which is called Mayhem.
Mayhem.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on this madness? Like, we waited since May 2024.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit mad at Gaga for making us wait that long. I
True.
assume it was contractual obligations that kept pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back.
Mm,
But I'm just glad for any title at this point. I mean, it could be The Life and Times of Stephanie McGee for all I care. I'm just glad we're getting music.
true, totally true. I was like, when the trailer dropped, like the teaser for the Chromatica film, I was like saying, there's no way she would release the album in 2025. Like, it will drop. I was one of the
Yeah, no.
2024
Yeah,
believers.
why would she make us wait 10 months?
Yeah,
And yet, here we are.
yeah, but here we are. But we finally have it. LG7 is not like, it's reality now. Like,
I know.
the pre-sale link is online. Like, there's no going back. Gaga has to drop this album now, and we are really, really happy about it. And yeah, so today we just go through like the title itself, what could it mean, what could it hint at. We take a look at the cover art, and last but not least, we take a closer look at the track list that Gaga kind of
Yeah.
hinted in like the video teaser of it. So Mayhem, like, what are your initial thoughts on hearing this album? I think like the name Mayhem circled around like in the fan forums for like some weeks now.
I think about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
There's another moderator on the House of Delulu server who's very good at reading web code, and
Oh,
he's the one who found the name Mayhem in her site code
okay,
um,
okay.
about two weeks ago, I would say. And so our server has known the real name for a couple of days. So
Hmm.
that's part of the reason why you should join. Um, but no, I mean, it's a we've known that the title would probably be something related to chaos. She's used the word chaos or disorder or similar words for quite a while now for most
Very
of
often,
the
yeah.
interviews that she did in 2024 when she was asked directly about this project. We just didn't know which word she would land on. I was kind of hoping for pandemonium because that invokes images of hell and
Me too,
demons and
yeah.
stuff. But no, Mayhem's cool too. Sure, why not?
To be honest, my only connection to Mayhem was like from Drag Race, like Mayhem Miller and other drag queens. But I
Yes,
actually,
yes,
I like, maybe because I'm German, I didn't have any connection to the word itself. So I thought Chaos would be a nice
yeah.
title.
Mhm.
Pandemonium was also like great. So first, when I heard the rumor Mayhem, I was like, I'm not sure if I like this title, but as longer
Yeah.
as the thought that this could be the album title like came to my mind, I was like, okay, this
Mhm.
could actually work, and this could actually be a fitting title for Gaga. Um,
Mhm.
I also thought that there was like, I think, an insider at Lana Board, like this website about Lana Del Rey. I think
Mhm.
there was also like somebody that hinted at this kind of name. So I think the clues were there from a lot of corners of the internet, um, as well as
Mhm.
the album cover. I think the album cover was also kind of revealed from the same insider. Yeah, back to the title Mayhem. I mean, you're the one that I don't have to say much about, like where like words originated from, but maybe to get like an introduction for like the listeners, I just researched that mayhem is defined by the Cambridge Dictionary a situation in which there is little or no order or control, which would totally hint towards what you said, that Gaga mentioned like chaos a lot of times in recent interviews.
Yeah, she did. And also the American dictionary calls it confused activity or excitement, sometimes involving destructive violence. And there's also a legal definition of mayhem, which only refers to bodily harm or maiming someone,
Maiming,
as we
yeah,
would say in
yeah.
English. And maim and mayhem are related words etymologically.
Okay, so do you have anything more to add to the word mayhem itself? Like, is there anything that you have in mind where you're like, oh
Um,
yes, we have to talk about that?
Full disclosure to everybody watching this, my real job is a linguist. So I study languages and the grammatical structure of things. And so if you wanted, I could get into the etymology, the history behind the word.
Please do so.
Right. So mayhem derives from Middle English, and of course, because Middle English goes to Modern English, it's just how time works. And Middle English got a lot of its words from Anglo-Norman, because if you remember history class, 1066 is the year when the Normans invaded England. So we borrowed a lot of words from Anglo-Norman. And in Anglo-Norman, the word was mime, which meant mutilation, which goes back to that legal definition I mentioned earlier. And Anglo-Norman is a variety of Middle French, which derives from Old French. And in Old French, the word was mosaigne, which just meant the loss of a limb or bodily harm. And what's really confusing is that Old French borrowed it from Proto-Germanic. So it's been going back and forth between different language families for, 1,500 years or so. And in Proto-Germanic, the word was mardianal, which just meant to injure somebody. And so if you look at a lot of other Germanic languages today, you'll find, for example, in Icelandic, avmeda, which is to injure. In German, there's the word gemeit, which I think has changed meaning to like, isn't it like foolish or silly or something like that in German? I
Yeah,
don't know. You're the
kind
German
of,
here.
kind
I'm
of.
not the German here. Yeah, so it went from like being injured to like being crazy to just being an idiot, I guess, is like how the word has changed over time in that particular language. Um, but that's essentially, the rundown on how we got to mayhem in the first place.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. Mayhem could mean both things, like what it means nowadays, like mayhem on the streets,
Mhm.
like something crazy happening, but it could also be like
Mhm.
this older meaning of the word, that it could be like somebody that gets like it's about violence. It's somebody that maybe kind of is
Hurt. Yeah.
hurt. Yeah, for lack of better words.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would also like to talk about the cover art. Like there are two
Yes.
different cover arts as I've seen like on the online shop. There was
Mhm.
this one that actually leaked and was
Mhm.
described from a lot of insiders like some weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that this is actually the album cover. And what are your thoughts on this? Because I know a lot of fans have like they are very divided about this album cover.
Yeah, a lot of them are excited and a lot of them are not so excited. I think it's like any Gaga release where it doesn't really matter what she does. Some people will like it, some people won't. That's just how things
Agree.
work.
Yeah.
So when I look at the album cover, I'm instantly reminded of an original track of her last musical work, which was Harlequin, which came out in September or October of
Yeah.
2024. And there's a song in there called Happy Mistake. And one of the lyrics in there is like so many broken mirrors, so many I can't look away. And that particular song was about her own insecurities, about being herself and her problems coming to terms with, her mental issues and the dark things from her past and trying to make peace with it. And in this album cover, you see something I think is highly reminiscent of those lyrics and of those same themes. And so I think my personal view is that it's essentially a visual representation of the themes that we got a preview to on Happy Mistake, where there's like you kind of see the effect that it's having on her on the outside, not necessarily, but she looks kind of tired. And then when she looks into the mirror breaks, and you see all this chaos and mayhem and distortion it's causing her and how she feels on the inside. And that goes into how she sort of described how she made the album and, the sort of dark themes and coming to terms with herself and the chaos and the many genres. It's all the stuff bubbling inside her, and it's breaking the mirror when it's coming to the surface.
I totally agree. Like, the first thing that came in mind when I saw this image was like Happy Mistake from Harlequin. Maybe Happy Mistake was a track that was originally for LG7. We don't know that. But
Possibly, yeah.
I think there's some connections, or there's, of course, something that connects these both images, because they are very, very close to one another. So for me, I would say at first I didn't like the album cover. I think coming off from Chromatica, which was like, for me personally, one of the best album covers that Gaga ever released. First, I thought, well, maybe this is like a leaked picture. Maybe this is not the album cover. Let's wait and see. And
a lot of people were like, I hope this is just a promotional image. I hope this is AI.
Yes.
Like, well,
yeah, and unfortunately, it was not. At first, I was like, this was my first reaction to it. But in the context of like the whole art imagery that goes with this album cycle and with this album era, I understand why she chose it. Like you mentioned, it's just a good depiction of what Mayhem could be to her. Like, when I see this picture, I instantly thought of disease and thought of like how she has like these inner demons inside her and these different personas she's fighting with, and you have like the split in between, kind of this fragmented face of hers and like her real face between it, like kind of how she's torn between different personas inside her. She's fragmented. These broken mirrors from Happy Mistake, like there were so many things that were fitting. And also, did you see like the alternative cover? This was like also very persona and very fragmented, kind of what Disease referenced in the music video.
Now that you're not talking about what you think about the album, it's fine.
Okay, great. Maybe I should stop talking then. Let's do a podcast without talking. Like, your quality in audio is perfect. Apart from that, you have like this light on your face, like.
Well, okay, so I can't control the sun as much as I would like to. I suppose I can move locations, but we already recorded part of it in this room.
Do you know what? Do you know like the introduction of Bad Romance? Like when this kind of light moves
when the sun,
to the wall. Yeah. You're giving that.
Yeah, this is totally intentional. I'm just giving Bad Romance.
Yeah, you're like in the LG2
I came out of my Delulu Discord people in the real world.
Exactly. Yeah. So did you want to add anything to the cover art or the alternative cover art?
Well, there is a Twitter account called Lady Gaga Now, and they posted a tweet, because I'm not going to ever call it what Elon wants to call it, where they quote Gaga as saying that she described the writing process as resembling a shattered mirror, which might lead into why the album is what it is. And she allegedly says, the album began with me confronting my fear of returning to the pop music my earliest fans loved. Even if you can't put the pieces back together perfectly, you can still create something beautiful and whole in its own unique way. So what I'm getting from this is that Gaga was almost afraid of the expectations that we as fans were putting on her, that she's very well aware that a lot of people consider the Fame Monster, and Born This Way, her first 3 musical efforts that were published under the Lady Gaga name, to be her best. And when she, skyrocketed to mainstream fame and all that, and then after that with Art Pop, Joanne, her jazz efforts, all that, she got a new audience, and her longtime older fans felt a little, it was like, oh, I don't like this as much, blah, blah, blah. And it apparently affected her to the point where she was like, oh, I don't know if I can write music that will ever appease them. Right. And she is essentially saying, it's never going to be the fame monster I'm born this way, because that was me then. But you know what? I'm still the same person now. So I can, put out something that's on caliber with the rest of them that comes from my authentic place here in 2024, 2025. And, it's still going to be a great dark pop record that you guys have been wanting.
Okay, so for the cover art in general, like
Right.
there's just one last point that I would love to point out, and that includes the Mayhem font. As you see the font, like it's very grungy, heavy metal, rock style
Yes.
of font. I thought about like these grungy, heavy metal rock bands, kind of horror movies. It's very demonic, it's very dark, and also the red in it is like very, like the black and white image, the red font, it's very kind of this genre. But what I figured out, if you zoom in into the M, which I will do as well, you can see the lightning bolt of the Fame.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
I just thought maybe this is the Easter egg of Gaga.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
And
Delulu.
well, House of Delulu, it's a place to be if you're Delulu.
True.
I think it also, because her lightning bolt sigil, I guess, derives from David Bowie,
Yeah.
who was a huge influence on her. And it could very easily be the case that, it's a little tiny nod to David Bowie.
I just thought I spotted this instantly when I saw this. I was like, this looks like a lightning bolt. And I know me some Gaga. She doesn't do these kind of things not on purpose. Maybe this is just a little Easter egg thing. Okay, but I think apart from that, we can dive into these kind of billboards that leaked. I just wanted to ask you, do you think this was on purpose, or do you think this just happened because some intern didn't do his or hers or theirs job?
I think the billboards were intentional, and they did come up at the time that they were supposed to. I think things always kind of just come up at a certain time in the morning. I believe that, well, one was in New York and one was in Las Vegas. New York and Las Vegas are 3 hours apart. They're 3 time zones separate. So in Las Vegas, it was still the middle of the night. No one was going to see it anyway. But in New York, it was, I would assume, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And that was about when they always kind of put up the morning billboards, the announcements. It's what they did for Applause and Art Pop, for example, 12 years ago. So I think that's just sort of like the schedule that they have set for billboards in that city. And Gaga was like, okay, well, that's the way it is. But we got a lot of stuff at the end of the countdown, a couple hours after that anyway, with all the pre-orders and the track listing and the vinyls and the this and the that. So I think at both times we still got a lot.
Totally agree. And I was like avoiding everything. I know that you wrote me like something's happening, and I was like, no, I want to experience like this website countdown, and I was trying to avoid everything like 2 hours prior.
That's difficult in 2025.
That's difficult. Another thing that came in mind, because we're just talking about it, I thought about, we had like this, I call it the Katy Perry effect. When Katy Perry had blonde hair, Witness flopped, kind of. Do we have the Katy Perry effect in reverse for Holian experience for Gaga, because she has black hair now? She was like this American darling, this perfect pop star, and I think Gaga is known for having her blonde hair and her sunglasses. Like, will this affect like this era and the success? I'm just kind of interested if this is kind of something that could have an effect on her.
I guess time will tell. I do think that Katie's era started off on the wrong foot. or several wrong feet, um, based off of who she worked with, and several of the things
True.
that happened before that. And I'm not necessarily knowing if I should refer to Witness or everything after that, because like she
True.
stumbled and then has not gotten
Sadly,
back up.
yes. Yeah.
So, I
Okay.
guess
Maybe
we'll find out.
we will find out. Let's not get into Katy Perry. I otherwise the Katy Cats will come for us. Um,
I think they already will. We mentioned her name, so they're gonna come.
maybe. I think I'm ready for the track list. Are you ready for the track list?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's one of the
Let's get it
most
going.
exciting things.
So we have learned as of today that there's 14 tracks on the album, 15 if you count on Die with a Smile being unceremoniously tacked on to the end once it was successful. Um, and we sort of knew a couple of the song names. We had a couple, stabs in the dark for a couple of others. Um, but the album will start with Disease. Disease, we already know, we already love, we already understand, we've already heard, we've already seen. Um, she did mention in a Rolling Stone interview she did in, I think it was only last month, might have been a little earlier, where they talked with her about how she made the song. She subtly hinted that the song was the first one on the album. And here we go, it's the first song on the album.
And just from hearing it, it kind of makes sense. Like this haunting vocals at the beginning of the track, it's kind of fitting if you compare it to like tracks like Marry the Night or Alice. It just pulls you into the world of Gaga like perfectly, and I think that's why I was
Mhm.
not surprised about Disease being like the first track.
We're going to get an experience when the very first track you hear is saying things like, "You're so tortured when you sleep, plagued with all your memories." It's like, okay, we are going dark, right off the
Yeah,
bat.
yeah. This is not the Fame. This is not Just Dance. Gonna be okay.
We're not going to
It's
be okay. We're going to be in hell.
no, yeah. I would continue on to the second track, which is called Abracadabra, which I'm so excited for. It's like the song that I think I'm most
Yeah.
excited for from hearing it as a snippet. Um,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it's the one song that we heard like before the Olympic performance or after. I'm not sure. No, I think
Mhm.
before.
It was slightly after. It was
Or
slightly
slightly
after.
after. Yeah. Yeah, and this one we kind of know like 10 seconds out of it. And yeah, I'm so excited for it. Sonically, I think it's one of her darker bops, and it kind of makes sense to put it with Disease. As you may remember, we talked about like the connection of like
Mhm.
the background of Abracadabra, and just like this Black
Mhm.
Doctor in the Disease music video, the saying of Abracadabra that kind of heals um, patients in the Middle Ages, 17th century of Europe.
Mhm.
So it's fitting that
Mhm.
these kind of songs fit together, like
Yes, I
first and
agree.
second song.
Well, I don't know exactly what portion of the song we heard when
Mm,
she played the snippet. A lot of people think it is the beginning to the song, but I mean, we don't
could
know
be.
quite yet. Give us a month. Um, but I'm very excited from what we heard. It sounded, like a rave. It sounded dark. It sounded metallic. It sounded heavy. It sounded like a sound that I think a lot of fans have wanted to hear from her for a very long time. After she sort of hinted to her prowess in doing stuff like that. For example, when she performed live with Metallica and things like that, we were like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear a real song like that from her." And now we will.
Totally. And yeah, I think I will be destroyed when I listen to Abracadabra after that. I think I'm not
Yes.
ready for everything else.
So bringing up the Paris snippets, the other snippet that she played from her car in Paris, um, we assume is a track called "The Beast," which we'll get to later down the line because that's track number 12, and we're only on track number 2. So we'll get there.
I just have to add, like, this is your prediction, right? Because I think Notorious Being will be another song, but we can talk about that.
So the third track is called "Garden of Eden." Um, And this is another title and another song that fans have known about for quite a while. There was actually a Gaga Daily user, I think, was the one who originally brought it to light because for some reason, I think they posted like something that they found on Twitter onto YouTube, and then it got taken down, and they said it was copyright claimed by Interscope. So we kind of knew then that it was legit, and this happened last summer. And we also knew it under a different name, which was Girlfriend. I'm assuming Garden of Eden and Girlfriend are the same track because we've kind of thought that they might have been the same track for months now. And if so, then we've heard a good 4 to 5 seconds of the song already, the lead into the chorus. And it definitely sounds more mainline pop than Disease and Abracadabra do. However, if what we heard was a leaked demo, then it might be different than what we expect. Freaking light is on my face again. Because if you remember from Chromatica, we heard a demo of Babylon, which had a David Bowie sample in it. And then when the album actually came out, Babylon was quite different. So the same thing could happen with everything that we've heard so far. I think Gaga always likes to like cram in 1 week like all the changes that she has to do before she has to actually submit it to the bosses.
Agree. Like
she's one of those people.
As we have seen at 5 for 2, like she really is on time when the deadlines there are. And I think she's just a creative person, and she's feeling her art, and I think it's like an emotional connection she has. So when she doesn't feel anything in the last minute, everything has to change, and I think that's just how she works. And that's kind of, as a monster, you have to adapt to that situation, that something you heard like 8 months ago is not the song anymore that we knew of. But to Garden of Eden, what I would like to add, but you said like most of the things, but what I want to add is that I'm just kind of, I thought that the song title would be Girlfriend for Wii, and it would be collaboration with Nintendo, but unfortunately it's called Garden of Eden, so we have to go with that.
Well, apparently it's Girlfriend for the Xbox 360. You know, she went a little back.
That could be. Okay, so I continue with Perfect Celebrity, which is our 4th track. And for me personally, I think Notorious Being is Perfect Celebrity. Why
Makes sense too.
Think that Notorious is like something that could kind of fit into the imagery of being a celebrity, and just like saying that a perfect celebrity is, you have to be like obnoxious and you have to be like notorious. And also she had like this kind of sound bite and this little video teaser like back in the day where she was saying Hollywood is a ghost town. I have no idea if this has any connection with like Perfect Celebrity, but it would fit into like this religious, dark, zombie disease theme that she's kind of having at Mayhem. That Perfect Celebrity would kind of fit into Garden of Eden, Abracadabra, and Disease if it's like a ghost town, Hollywood, Notorious Being kind of song.
No, I no. Now that you're saying all of that, that definitely makes sense to me that they all could be united in that way. Because I mean, Notorious is essentially famous for something bad. That's essentially what it means. And so, you know, if you don't act perfect as a celebrity, then you're notorious. And, you know, you're doing stuff wrong and people will tear you apart and tear you down and all that. And that definitely makes sense with kind of what she's been alluding to with, you know, not feeling like she can live up to everything and having a mistake and all the mistakes she's made. It all fits together, essentially. As for the title, Perfect Celebrity, that title has been floating around for, I would say, a month or two, maybe even more.
Even more? You know, it's like for some months?
Yeah.
Like, I think since summer 2024, so.
Yeah, it's been floating around, but a lot of people didn't believe it because, you know, there's a lot of like, you know, fake Twitter insiders who are there to get clout on the internet because they don't have a real life. So they thought it was just like this horrible name for an album or horrible name for a song, and they were just making it up for attention. And, you know, it's not actually going to be on the album. And, you know, here we are. But, you know, now that you mentioned all the stuff that you did, about how it could be connected to the themes of everything. I'm like, okay, well, it isn't so bad.
Well, I hope the Notorious Being is on there. I mean, it's just a theory
I'm
that it
so
could
unsatisfied
be listed.
with. I think if I move here now, I think the sunbeam has moved. So I think, well, no, now there's a different set. Okay. There's going to be such discontinuity between where I am in my room
Yeah,
when you get this
I
damn
think
sunbeam off of my face.
I think the idea that I had with not editing this video at all, I'm not sure if it works.
Yeah,
Let's wait
sorry,
and see.
sorry, Sandra. I think you're going to have to do
It's
some
okay.
editing.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah,
You say in the saddest voice I've ever heard you do.
it's okay. Yeah, no, I have to. So the next track is called Vanish Into You. What are your thoughts on that?
So this is the first title that we as fans had not known about beforehand. This is a completely
Agree.
new, term for us. It's definitely, the idea that you had written in our little script that it could be a love song. If you want to elaborate on that, I mean, I have zero idea what it could be, but if you want to elaborate on your idea, please.
I just had the idea that maybe like one thing is like to vanish into you could be like that you're so in love with a person that you kind of become the same person, or that kind of a part of yourself maybe vanishes into this person. That's just one theory. Maybe she's just crazy Gaga and she's talking about being a demon possessed and possessing other
Possession.
people. Like
Yeah.
I thought about possession, like when I heard "Vanish Into You."
When I hear "Vanish Into You" and you mention love, I think maybe it's my own gay experience. I don't know, but I bring it into
Maybe you're
romance
projecting, but maybe it's
projecting.
Gaga's.
Well, I mean, I'm in
maybe
my
it's-
own brain. I can't do
But
anything
maybe
else
it's
but project.
Gaga's experience as well.
Yeah, I also projected that onto Perfect Illusion as well, but I think her saying it was about social media was a bunch of bullcrap, and I think we all know it. But,
True. We all know that Gaga has like sometimes she has double meanings for songs. Like Telephone is of course it's about like the obvious thing that she's talking about, but it also has like the bigger meaning of digital worlds and being like available all the time. Like she likes to put like a lot of deeper meanings into songs that on the surface seem like obviously something different. Okay, so do you want to talk about the next song that I'm also very excited about?
Right. So the next song is called Killah, Killah, which I think is a cool title. And I think the reason why you're excited is because it says it is featuring Gesaffelstein.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about Gesaffelstein?
I mean, I really like all of his work. And what I think is interesting is that we had assumed as fans that he would just be a producer. But this says it's featuring Gesaffelstein, which means he might have vocals, he might have a larger part to play in it.
I thought really interesting because a lot of producers that Gaga works with are like, we know of them because we like research about these producers and what song they kind of created or co-produced. And it was really outstanding that apart from Bruno Mars as a feature, only Gesaffelstein is on there, because we had like these rumors with The Weeknd. He's dropping his album like in some days where it is possible that Gaga might be featured, maybe not. The Weeknd and Gesaffelstein are like long-time collaborators. Gesaffelstein produced a lot of songs from The Weeknd and they collaborated. And I just thought that maybe for some tracks of The Weeknd, Gesaffelstein was also featured. Like not all of them, but on some of them. So maybe, I don't know if it's a thing about exposure. Like maybe Gesaffelstein is like, well, if you want to work with me, you have to feature me as well. I'm not sure if he will be vocally involved, because I think he isn't that often vocally involved. We just have to wait and see. I'm just intrigued about his sound and the soundscape he creates and how this would fit with Gaga. And just the song title makes me highly anticipated for this song.
Well, I mean, I think if you listen to Disease, if you listen to the Abracadabra snippet, if you listen to what we as fans call the Notorious Being snippet, which could be one of a couple of songs, we don't know. I definitely think Gesamtstein fits right in there, like a glove, right?
Totally, totally. The next song I'm really excited about. I think we all have the theory that the snippet we heard in the Disease music video when this kind of Blake Doctor was inside this car chasing Gaga, we heard like this little snippet in the radio where the
Hmm.
lyrics were kind of I could be a light, I could be a zombie bride, zombie guy,
Yeah,
zombie
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
And
yeah.
one
I
theory
could
of
be a
mine,
type. I'm your zombie guy. Something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly. And I made a pop explained dissection of Disease where I explained the whole
Hmm.
video on my channel. You have to check it out. I worked really long and hard on that. But I'm pretty excited
Yeah.
about this because I had this theory it could be either Zombie Bride, it could be Zombified and have a connection to Frankenstein. That's like a
Mhm.
song from original LG5 with Red One. And the other theory was about that it could be about Zombieboy. And maybe some fans know, maybe they won't. Zombieboy was a collaborator and like a model, like mainly, that was tattooed all over his body and worked with Gaga on the Born This Way music video. Like, she took inspiration from his tattoos and from his outer appearance, and they both can be seen in the Born This Way video. And unfortunately, Zombie Boy passed away in 2018, I think. I thought this could be like a homage to him.
And for anyone who is curious, his name was Rick Genest. He was from Quebec. I'm very excited if she actually has a song, paying homage to him, and it's just as dark and lovely as the rest of the stuff that we've heard, in
Hmm.
snippets about the album so far. Track number 8 is called Lovedrug. One word. Thoughts?
I'm actually not into this title. I think it's the most expected, or not expected is maybe the wrong word, but it's like a
Generic.
generic is yeah generic is,
Mm.
is the right word. It's a very generic song. I thought about Kesha's "Your Love Is My Drug" or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's what I thought of too.
That's and
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm excited. It could go into a completely different direction, like sonically, of course, but
Mhm.
my first initial thoughts were like, okay.
Yeah,
Yours?
well, I mean, we have to listen to the real song before we can
Yeah,
make an actual
yeah.
informed opinion, about anything. You said it's generic, but it's not like roll my eyes bad.
No, it's
So,
not. Yeah,
yes, so I'm just gonna hold off until I actually hear the song in March, and we'll see.
yeah. Agree. Totally agree. So the next track is "How Bad Do You Want Me?"
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on that one?
It's a title.
It's a
Like
title.
like like I don't, like I said, I'm withholding judgment until I actually hear the real song.
I
Um,
would,
for
yeah.
for some reason, it somewhat reminds me of "Do What You Want." I think because "you"
The
is just the
you.
capital U.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
but
Maybe
we'll
this
see.
is also a good time to mention the song lengths. Like Lovedrug was like I
Hey,
think the shortest song. "How Bad Do You Want Me" is like 3 minutes 59. Um, like before we talked on this podcast and clicked record, yeah, you just mentioned that like a lot of songs are not under, or like all songs are not under 3 minutes.
mhm. Right, there's this current trend. I don't know when you're watching this, but there's a current trend where the app TikTok
It will be
has
out in
made,
2026 when I finished editing.
yeah, exactly. has So the app TikTok has made songs released, by major artists shorter in general, so that they can be used in the app and get virality in the app because the app only allows things of a certain length of time, and they need to fit the hooks into that length of time, which subsequently reduces the length of the songs. And I think Gaga is harkening back to albums like Born This Way or The Fame, which were released 10, 15 years ago, where that trend hadn't happened yet, and songs tended to be longer. Right now, and Gaga said, no thanks, I'm still in the long era, thank you.
Yeah, and that's really what I appreciate about her. I think Chromatica was like very pleasing to the streaming era. And I think when we look back at the Joanne era, Gaga was not a streaming force back then. I think she had like not a lot of listeners on Spotify, and Chromatica really pushed her streaming wise. Like she had a lot of features with like big artists like Blackpink, Ariana Grande, Elton John. I think most of the songs were around 3 minutes, but not even into 4 minutes. So it's kind of cool that Gaga goes away from this trend. So the next track what we can't say much about is Don't Call Tonight. Like, it could be a telephone continuation without Beyonce.
That would be interesting. It's like, okay, it took you long enough.
Yeah, maybe. No, but
it's another one.
It's another one that we have no clue about. It's just interesting that first she didn't have fun tonight, now she don't want you to call tonight. Interesting involvements.
Okay, fine, I won't do anything tonight. I'll see you in the morning. Jeez.
Exactly. Okay. Do you want to talk about the next one, which is like a title that's really interesting?
Right. So the next title for track number 11 is Shadow of a Man. Okay, poker face. The reason why I think both of us are interested in this title, Shadow of a Man, is it ties back to the very first time we heard or saw, rather, Gaga allude to LG7 ever, which was at the tail end of her Chromatica Ball tour music video, or I guess tour video film, whatever she called it. And at the very end, when she's exiting the stage, she does a couple Michael Jackson moves, and then for about 2 or 3 seconds, she kind of eased into and out of a snippet, which she did at the same time as she flashed the words LG7, where we heard dancing in the shadow of the, and then it stopped. We thought it was Night, Shadow of the Moon. I think those were the 2 biggest ones.
Yeah.
And in feminist fashion, it's the shadow of a man.
Yeah. And I was really gagged by that. I was like, I was Team Moon for so long. And like, it was only Night or Moon. And then she comes up with Shadow of a Man.
Because that makes sense. Yeah, because, Night and Moon makes sense if you're talking about shadows. So we just sort of extrapolated that. But I mean, in the shadow of a man, to me, implies, like if you're a woman, you feel like you can't express yourself as fully, or you can't, have as much power or as much control because of the way society has imposed gender roles of the unequal. This is not a feminist, thing, but I think it's related to the ideas of that, where she's trying to get out from under, other people to really be who she is, which goes to the whole idea that I was just talking about with, Chromatica and not being able to fully express herself with that, or ideas being pared down. So maybe it's related to that, or it could be something completely different, like you're only a shadow of a man because you suck and I deserve someone better. Maybe it's that. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But I thought the same things as you said. There's like the song from Taylor Swift called The Man, where she's like talking about, I don't know if you know the song, or if you're...
I did listen to it once, and now I have the Taylor Swift fans coming after me.
You have every fandom coming after you after this video.
I know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Come find me.
No, but I thought about this song because she's like depicting how everything would be easier as if she was just a man, and talking about these same issues that you just mentioned. And I think Shadow of a Man could be exactly about that.
What I was going to say is Beyonce also has a song about this topic, If I Were a Boy, which came out a long time ago.
True.
My music taste is stuck in 2011, so that's why I thought of it.
Mine too.
Another reason why we brought up Moon was because if you watch the Chromatica Ball tour film, for some reason I can't say that, she mentions the moon a lot. Like, she's like, don't you see the moon? It's so pretty. Good night, moon. And it's like, it's interesting. So we thought it was Moon, and then when she played that snippet at the end, it's like,
that's weird.
There's like, that's weird.
Okay, so the next one is called the Beast.
Beast.
Yeah, I had to think instantly about Alyssa Edwards, as everybody that kind of knows Drag Race. No, but apart
Gay.
from that, yeah. But apart from Alyssa Edwards, I think this is an amazing song title, and I'm really excited about this. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, we mentioned before that you think that what the snippet that we call Notorious Being might be Perfect Celebrity.
Yeah.
And I think it might be the Beast. Because being Beast, something animalistic that you don't really know or can't really see or understand. I think that's why I thought this song might be that snippet. But I agree. I think a song just called The Beast on an album that's like this dark and about your inner demons. It's like, okay, we're getting like a very direct inner demon reference.
That's also interesting. Like, because I had to look up again what the word notorious means exactly. But I think this would kind of make sense that this beast is like also maybe a persona that Gaga's talking about that has like all these notorious aspects.
Yeah, maybe Gaga is the Beast and the
Yeah,
weird witch doctor in the disease video is called the Beast.
maybe,
Because
and that's the
because it's an
notorious being.
amalgamation of all of, yeah, because she's an
Ooh,
amalgamation of all of her stuff. So she's just become like this beast of all of her former selves that she's wrestling.
that's a good theory. I mean, also
I don't
like
know, I just thought of this on the fly, so you're welcome.
well, but it's good because she has like this kind of masks. This gimp mask is kind of made of
Yeah,
purses, so this could
right.
also be very
And if she has
notorious.
a money purse as
Yeah,
her eye is a money purse, so she can only be seen through the lens of making people money, right? So it
maybe,
really is a beast. The whole fame making, it's
maybe.
tying together. It all makes, you know,
And then it will be completely different, and it is Shadow of a Man again.
yeah, of course,
Like
of
every
course.
theory.
That's how it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, but
Of
that's
course,
how it
that's how it
is.
is.
But yeah, I think this is a good opportunity. Comment below if you are Team Freud, if you think that it could, that Notorious Being could be Perfect Celebrity, or if you're Team Cow, if it could be the Beast. Comment below which theory you think it will be, and then we will figure out when the album drops.
Actually, comment anyway, because comments are good for the YouTube algorithm.
That's true.
Right. So Gaga apparently got very tired of people on the internet melting down, and she wanted to tell people to touch some grass, go outside. So the 14th track on the album, or sorry, the 13th track on the album is called Blade of Grass.
Yeah, this song was especially made for us both. That I do a podcast and not go out and touch grass. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now where I am, it's very snowy. There is no grass, but I get the message, God. I'll go
True.
outside. Jeez.
Yeah, first on Chromatica, the monsters torture her, and now she's like, touch some grass.
She's not being subtle anymore.
No. English is not my first language, so I wanted to ask you if the saying blade of grass has a meaning in English.
Nope, just refers to a blade of grass, as far as I know.
Okay.
I did want to mention that in the same deep dive that she did with Rolling Stone in December, she does talk a little bit about LG7, like in general. And one of the things she says is there are times when it's hard to see the light, but I think sometimes what makes inner chaos harder is when you sometimes get a glimpse of the sun because you're like, man, I wish the sun would shine all the time. And then it reminds you of what you're missing. Blade grass is outside where the sun is, where and people have seen the stupid sunbeam, cutting my face in half throughout this entire video. So maybe I'm just channeling Blade of Grass early.
Maybe. And I think
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
think it's also from all the song titles on here, I think it's the one that stood out the most for me because it's like obviously grass is like nothing very negative, and I think a lot of song titles have some negative perfect celebrity
Implication.
maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have the implication. That's the word I'm looking for. So I think Blade of Grass, I thought about maybe it's something because it's very thin, like grass is very thin and the blade of grass is very thin. This could be like a metaphor for something.
I mean, I don't want to sound too nerdy, but it also depends on what type of grass. Because some grass is, just limp and it's soft to walk on and it's fine. But there's also a type of grass called St. Augustine grass, which is very sharp and pointy and tall.
Okay.
So, I'm
Come
not gonna
through with the grass knowledge.
I'm not gonna lecture you about grass
No,
species. I've
please
already
don't.
lectured you about linguistics. You don't need to get that much out of me quite yet. But because I'm originally from the state of Florida of the United States, we only have St. Augustine grass. So when I walked outside as a child, it always hurt because it was like walking on, shards of glass, right? Um, so that's immediately what I think of when I think of grass is like blades, like real blades. So I think that fits. But I don't think Gaga was like, I need a song specifically about St. Augustine grass. Like, no, I think that's just me being.
Maybe it's about the genre bluegrass. Maybe it's a
Yeah,
bluegrass
featuring
track.
Dolly Parton.
Yeah,
Featuring Dolly Parton. Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, let's quickly talk about that. Like, this is the last track that we know of, and
Mhm.
Die with a Smile. We all know it. I think I really like it. I reacted to it and I thought like, well, this could become an instant classic, but I'm not sure if it will get that big. And now it's like number one in America
Mhm.
for I don't know how many weeks. What were your
Yeah,
thoughts on this song initially
I
and
mean, I,
now?
I mean, I like the song. It is what it is. It's very 70s soft rock. But then it exploded in popularity and was everywhere. And then, you just eventually get worn out of the song. It's like, okay, this is not darkness. This is not chaos. This is not what she was promising us. This is a one-off
Mm,
with Bruno Mars. It's cute. I mean, my original idea was that the song was designed to be commercially successful so that Interscope could recoup on their investment for Mayhem, which was
I
more
agree.
experimental.
I agree.
But then they really recouped on their investment with a song that's still getting 10 million streams per day on Spotify 4 months after it came out. 5 months, actually. It's January now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I think even as Gaga hinted towards Die with a Smile, it had no connection to LG7. She was like, till you get LG7, here's this and this song. So
Right, I
I
remember
think
that.
it was kind of an afterthought, as you mentioned.
Mm.
Like maybe she or her label said, well, you know what would be great if you put this song actually on your album because this is like doing numbers
Yeah. It's
streaming
like,
wise and chart wise.
yeah.
And
I mean,
you
first it
can't
was like,
judge her for
okay,
that.
Lady Gaga. Like at first it was like, okay, Lady Gaga, we need an actual hit if we're going to allow you to do all this. Be a good girl, release something
Yeah.
good, please. And then it got so good. It's like, okay, Gaga, be good. Please put this on your album so we get good album
Yeah.
numbers too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so no, but I don't blame her for that. I think I'm also interested if Mayhem is like the initial concept she had in mind, or if there was like a
mm,
different song title, album title. Sorry, it's getting late here.
mm,
But I just thought about maybe she had to switch things up for the album concept while she wanted to include Die with a Smile because her label maybe said she had to do so, or maybe she herself thought it would be a good opportunity to include this song because most of these songs are
mm.
very, as I mentioned, they have like connection to very dark themes, witchcraft, alchemy, things she kind of hinted towards, and Die with a Smile kind of stands out. I mean, of course, it has like this macabre feeling to it. Like if you listen
Mm.
to the lyrics and if you watch the music video,
Yeah.
it's very subtle because it's like you said, a 70s, 80s love rock song, soft rock ballad. But
Mm.
it's very subtle and being like kind of gaga and different.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
thought about it's like an afterthought to include it.
Yeah, like the concept behind it is morose,
Yeah.
but the sentiment is very light and positive.
Yeah.
So it ends the album. And Gaga said herself that, you think you know what you're going to get into after the first couple of tracks, and then you're wrong. And she also said, no, it goes between dark, 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 and then at the end there's light. And let's die with a smile.
Maybe it is. And I also think about maybe before we end this first podcast, because we are also like very we're talking we're talking since
Yeah,
a
sorry, we
long
get
time.
along with each other and we're nice with each other and we're
Yeah,
friendly. Gee.
sorry. No, but
Sorry for two gays being friends.
yeah, on the internet, um, and I forgot totally what I wanted to say. What I just lost my thought.
Oops. Sorry.
Stop it,
If you get
please.
that reference, you're a legend.
My thought came back that I think I'm really interested because I don't think LG7 will be only dark, but I think it will have a lot of sounds and a lot of genres in it. I don't know how you think about it, but I think like the first half is very dark. And then it could kind of switch into something lighter. So it makes sense that we have Die with a
Duality.
Smile at the end. Duality that she kind of hinted towards.
Yes. Right.
And
Yes.
also, another thought that I had is like, I really love this countdown idea on the website. And I found it really interesting that she did include Harlequin in it. Like, it's LG 6.5. And I mean, you could also count A Star Is Born kind of into it. You could also count Cheek to Cheek into it if you like want to have like jazz music into it. So I thought it was an interesting choice of Gaga to include it. And maybe this is a hint. And my idea is because Gaga mentioned that she's like reflecting and LG7 is nothing like her past albums. Maybe she is like taking all this sonical productions from the last eras, including Harlequin, and put it onto this album. So maybe
That would
my
be
theory
very
is
cool.
that we have maybe a jazz song in it, or we have jazz elements in songs in particular. And I just remember, as I said it, that there was like this producer that posted like this picture of Gaga in the studio where he was talking about there are crazy horns in this tune and this song. Do you remember it? I don't know his name, and I don't want to put him on
Sort
blast
of.
again.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, yeah,
I
but
know, I'm old.
he deleted it quickly after because
Oh, right.
Gaga's
Yeah,
team
yeah,
came
yeah. No,
after
no, no.
her.
Now I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that
and
one.
so I think there was like this hint towards that Gaga experiments with different sounds, and I think this could maybe be what we expect sonically. Like, what are your thoughts sonically? Do you think we get like dark LG7 and then there's Die with a Smile, or what? What are your thoughts?
Well, Gaga herself has said that it goes through many different genres and that you don't know what to expect. So that's all but confirmed, essentially. Um, and I do think the fact that she has, among other things that we've discussed in the video so far, also brought up ideas of duality. I can do more than one thing at once.
Mm,
All the stuff that she's kind of hinted at since the promotion for Joker Folia 2 began,
hmm
months and months ago, is the idea of the creation of a work that incorporates many different genres, many different ideas, many different perspectives. Kind of like if you break a mirror, it's all of these different pieces, and you have to put them together again and try to make it whole. Kind of like what she's trying to do with her psyche since the COVID era and all of that. So I think it all fits for me. I think it all fits. I think um, now as for why 6.5 is there, I have a little bit of a sillier idea, which is it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 7. Like she's just teasing us.
Well, it's like a promo, like, "Hey guys, I also made a jazz album. Don't forget."
Yeah, yeah. Huh. So what we know is that Die with a Smile is the 15th track on the special
Allegedly,
edition of
yeah, from
allegedly.
allegedly.
Um, allegedly, we always have to, cover our bases. So allegedly, there is a standard and deluxe or whatever version of Mayhem. The standard will have 14 songs and with DWAS, which is Die with a Smile abbreviation for those who don't know. And the deluxe version will have another song, which originally would be the extra song at the end of the album. And then they literally just tacked Die with a Smile onto both versions. So now there's an extra song just somewhere in the middle of the deluxe version.
Which is interesting. Like, I think she
Well, she
did
did
the
that with
same
Born
for
This
Born
Way.
This Way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're just
But
tracks in the middle.
yeah, but it's just interesting. I think I was thinking about, is this the Weekend collab, or what kind of song is this? But it would
I mean,
not
it
make
could be.
any
We don't know.
sense to put it on a deluxe. Like, I don't know. I was like kind of
There's a
confused.
super secret special song, that we won't, I guess, know about until later.
It's Shadow of a Man. Where do you think you're going to the moon? Piano version work tape.
I guess if I have one last thing to say that's related to actual theory and everything, we saw in the Instagram short reel video that she put
Hmm
up on her page this morning, January 27th, that there was a quick shot of like, I guess like the bumper, which is the part where it says this blah 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 album featuring such songs as blah blah and blah, which they normally do when people are supposed to recognize those titles because they've been previously released as singles. So if you remember Joanne, that originally said featuring Perfect Illusion and Ayo, and then she released Million Reasons instead because that took off after the Super Bowl. And the songs that were on this little thing were obviously Die With a Smile, Disease, Abracadabra, and Vanish Into You.
Oh.
So I'm guessing on February 2nd, during the Grammys, as Variety magazine hinted to, we will be getting either Abracadabra or Vanish Into You.
Interesting.
I would like to see it.
I would also like to see it. I would like to see Abracadabra as a singer and destroy the music industry because it's like not GP friendly at all. Like the general public.
Die With a Smile is still, Die With a Smile still has its boot on Disease's neck. It's still doing way, way better.
Yeah.
So hopefully, it'll do what Interscope hopes, which is Die With a Smile will push the rest of the songs into being, commercially successful, whatever they define that to be. And Die With a Smile already has more Spotify streams than all of Art Pop songs combined. So
that's crazy. That's crazy to think about.
Good for her.
Good for her. Of course, good for her. So what is your guess? What will be the next single? Abracadabra or Vanish Into You? It's like
we don't know what Vanish Into You sounds like. And if it sounds more, mainline electro pop, kind of like the stuff that she's been doing before, then it might be that one. Or if she's really like, I'm going to really give you a different taste of what's coming on the album, and you will like this song, then it might be Abracadabra. Because if you remember during the Born This Way album release, she was like, oh, my fans want Scheisse, they want Heavy Metal Lover, they want Bloody Mary. And Interscope was just like, no, that's too out there. We're not going to let you do that. And maybe this time they're like, okay, we might let you be out there with Abracadabra, which I think all the hardcore longtime fans would really like until they see that it doesn't do well commercially. But we can hope.
Just theories, yeah. No, I totally agree.
Just hypotheses.
I would like to see it. This is all that I say. I would love to see Abracadabra and see a music video.
And we will see it soon. We will see it soon. And not Gaga soon, actually. So.
it's really soon, yeah. All right, I think on that note, I would like to say thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. It was a joy as always to talking to you. Yeah, at the end, I would like to give you the last word just to present the House of Delulu server.
So it's essentially a Discord server. A lot of younger people use Discord. So you might already have an account. If you don't, you should make one. It's a great little community. Yes, you are on there. You don't post very much, but you are there. And you have a real life. Imagine that.
Yeah, I have a real job besides that. Imagine that.
Yeah, really. I think we all do, but anyway.
We are old. We all do.
So just recently reached 1,000 members, which means if you have a Discord already, you can literally search for it and it might pop up. If you don't, there will be a link in the description that I have made specifically for viewers of this video, and you can join there if you are so inclined, which you should be.
Nice, cool. All right, so thank you so much for everybody that watched this video. We had like a blast with you guys, so thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening, and let us know in the comments, like, what is your favorite track? What is the track that you claim? I claim Abracadabra, and I think the same is for you, right? So Carl is claiming Abracadabra as well. And let us know in the comments, what is your song going to be? And are you team Perfect Celebrity or are you team the Beast? Yeah. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.